I'm going to do a quick kind of a post-mortem, probably a longer video to follow. But why did the Democrats lose? And the Democrats are going to trot out probably the exact same message they've been trotting out for a long time, which is we lost because of racism, we lost because of sexism, this, that, and the other. They're going to trot that out over and over again. We know that to be true. The problem with that, the problem is they're not going to learn from this loss. Okay. And they're not going to understand why they were able to win, why Joe Biden was able to beat Donald Trump in 2020. And I'm going to tell you what those reasons are and explain the number one reason why the Democrats lost this election. First and foremost, there was no chance for Joe Biden to beat Donald Trump in 2020. Zero chance that he was going to win that race without I'm not going to say manufactured, but let's just say greatly exaggerated crises at the end of the Trump presidency, both the pandemic and the racial component of what was going on at the end of Donald Trump's presidency. Without those things, Donald Trump was going to defeat Joe Biden in a landslide. It wasn't going to be a competitive race. So those things were absolutely necessary. Not only that, but 4 years of media kind of stirring the pot of Russian collusion and all these different things about Donald Trump for years throughout his candidacy and his presidency. So there was all those headwinds already. Trump was still going to win in a landslide, X the George Floyd COVID related nonsense that happened at the end of his presidency. Otherwise, he wins in a landslide. So now you have Joe Biden as president of the United States for the next 4 years. And I think we all know the story here of the Joe Biden presidency, high inflation, which I have said repeatedly, this is not Joe Biden. This is our inflationary issues. There's a lot of it that can be laid at Joe Biden's feet from energy policy and stuff like that. But we also have major structural issues within our economy that are causing a devaluation of U.S. currency. So that's got to be addressed. Set that aside for a minute and just think about the Biden economy and the things that Biden did. And yes, people could look back and started remembering the first few years of the Trump presidency and how good things were. You don't have to, you want to give credit to Obama for that, but I don't care. The bottom line is the American voter could look back at the first 3 years of the Trump presidency and say, well, things were really good. And I don't think any of them you can't lay at the feet of Donald Trump what went on in the last year of his presidency. These were kind of unprecedented things that were taking place. Then you take into consideration the fact that they have been lying about Donald Trump the whole time. I'm not saying Donald Trump's a great guy. I'm not defending Donald Trump on every, in all these different avenues or all these different arenas in which he's being attacked. But I'm saying that they have greatly exaggerated and in many cases flat out lied about Donald Trump. Kamala Harris during the debate used the very fine people quote, and so did Barack Obama. And that's a largely debunked. Even Democrats know that's not what he said about the very fine people on both sides. And they're repeating the same lies, and they've been doing it for 8 to 10 years. So what does that do? This is the number one reason that Democrats lost. What does that do? It starts taking away, it starts poking holes, it starts creating cracks in the trust of the people who are not staunch Democrats, right? They didn't lose staunch Democrats. Staunch Democrats did not probably migrate over to Donald Trump in large numbers. But what happened is over time, when you repeat the same lies over and over and over again, people are going to start investigating that. People are going to start both pushing back against it on social media, and people are going to start doing their own research, for lack of a better term. People are going to start looking into these things on their own, these own lies. They're going to be pushed. These lies, if you repeat them enough, are going to get pushed back on. They start getting debunked. So what happened is, in my opinion, I think that the Democrats attacked Trump so much because they had so little to run on. They attacked Trump so consistently and by telling the same stories so many times that eventually their own kind of that independent, non-staunch Democrat group of voters started to mistrust them. And they were starting to be gaslit about, they started to see through some of the gaslighting. They started to see that, hey, wait a minute, why are you telling me that this economic indicator is better when I don't feel it. You hear the news media talk about it. But the fact of the matter is that the same stories. I don't think a lot of independent voters believe the Russia collusion thing, but they're still talking about that. They talk about Donald Trump is going to, it's World War III and Donald Trump's going to take away your fundamental rights. And they look back at his presidency and go, none of that happened the first time. They're still saying it. So it was much harder to run against the fear of a Donald Trump presidency. They were able to run on the fear of Donald Trump in 2020. They were still able to stoke that, but I don't think people look back at the Donald Trump presidency now and go, there's nothing really to be afraid of here. So if I'm not going to be driven to vote for you because of fear based on these lies that I've been told, now you have to actually give me something. You have to give me a reason to come out and vote for you. Democrats weren't able to do that. And Republicans were able to go, well, look at the last 4 years, and look at the early Trump presidency, and look at all these lies they've been telling for years and years and years. And that's it. And that's why the Democrats now, I'm going to do a longer video. I'm going to go issue by issue as to why the Republicans had stronger positions and better selling points for the American voter. But at the end of the day, the Democrats running on the Trump bad message was not going to get to the voters again, because I just think there was too much history and reality. And we understand that there's a war in Eastern Europe that wasn't there when Trump was president. We understand that there's a conflict in the Middle East that's there when Trump wasn't president. We understand that there's inflationary prices and housing is harder to obtain. We know all these things are happening right now, whether they're Biden's fault or not, and whether Trump can take credit for it or not. These things are happening now, and the Democrats are trying to tell you that they're not happening or that they're Trump's fault. And so at the end of the day, like I said, the running on the Trump bad, Biden good idea was wasn't going to win the day. And like I said, I'm going to do a longer video. We're going to talk about Kamala as a candidate. We're going to go through kind of issue by issue. That video is either going to come out, I might even go live and do it tonight, or it'll get released this weekend. So like and subscribe, follow me, whatever the case may be, if you're interested in that. But I just wanted to get my kind of next day post-mortem out.